So
Okay.
I've invited Nancy to come and talk to me today because Nancy and I have known each other for a long time. We've been internet friends, and this is the first time that we're meeting.
Across the pond.
It's amazing. And
Yes.
I wanted to introduce Nancy to you all because we had a full moon in Sagittarius last night, and Sagittarius is all about freedom and adventure. And Nancy's made some massive changes to her life recently. And I'm nosy. I want to ask you about them, but I just think it's fantastic what you've done.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you've got a website now called Making My Own Lane, is it called?
Yes. Makingmyownlane.com. Yes.
Okay. Tell everyone what you've done with your life in the last few years.
What have I done with my life? Well, I quit my job. I sold my house. And I moved into a small Class C RV, and I travel the country full time in a small, tiny house with 2 dogs and a cat. So,
With 2 dogs
yes.
and a cat. Oh my God!
I have 2 dogs and a cat. Yes.
Willie and Rufus and Katie the cat. Is that right?
And Katie, yes. And Katie actually had her own little vacation about a month ago. She disappeared for 2 months. And I actually was able to get her back, which is a whole other story. So yes, and she's an integral part of our family. And I missed her, and I call her the enforcer. So when the dogs get out of hand, she comes and she whaps them around a little bit. So she's my protector. So, and I missed her.
She's the referee. She's
the referee, exactly. But it's, you have this little family unit, even though it's just me and some creatures. And it works well. You can only put so much in a small space, so you put in what works, and that worked. And she was just, I can't believe I got her back after 2 months, but that's another story for another. She came.
What a relief.
Oh yes, I never thought I'd see her again, and then one day she just kind of popped back up, and we did have to catch her. She did not want to be caught at that point. She'd made friends. Was wandering a local neighborhood. So I actually bought a have a heart trap. The woman who was feeding her let me buy that, and she put her out, and the second night caught Katie. And she came home.
I'm so glad. Our pets are like parts of our family. I mean, I'm looking after other people's pets at the moment.
Right.
Because I live in a flat, so I can't have pets. But I just love the animals. They're just so lovely to hang out with. They're just perfect companions, aren't they?
Most of the time. And that's another reason I did this RV life, because I like to travel, but I didn't want to leave my dogs with a sitter anymore. And one of my dogs is 16 and a half. So for him to go to a kennel or even ask someone else to watch him is a lot, because he's old. So I can travel with them. I take them with me everywhere I go, and it's very nice. Yeah.
16 is probably like nearly 100 in human years, isn't it?
I'm thinking close to 90.
It's old.
He is old. He has good days and bad days. He doesn't like to get up in the morning. He's a little grumpy. So I figured about 90.
I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that. So tell us, so go back in time and start at the beginning. When did you pack in your job and hand your notice in?
I had been unhappy in my job for quite some time, even before COVID. But then COVID had happened, and I realized I better keep my job because it was going to be challenging. I had a feeling it was going to be challenging for a couple years. And then after COVID was over, big corporations just expected more and more and more. And I had my Sales Made Simple business, and I was doing coaching, and I couldn't do it anymore because my company needed they demanded so much of my time in order for me to keep my job, because they were doing me a favor by allowing me to keep my job. And it got worse and worse and worse. And one day things just built up, and I kind of snapped and said, I'm leaving. And I don't think they believed me. I think they thought I was coming back on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or a month later, and I didn't. And I don't regret that at all. It was a toxic environment, and I have friends who are still there and still dealing with it. The money was amazing, but I just couldn't do it anymore. So then I looked for a job for about a month, because that's what people tell you should do. and I had an amazing resume, but no one was really hiring. They were stockpiling resumes at that point for whatever was going on in their future. And I had so many people contact me for interviews in July, August, September. And I'm like, I'm gone. I needed a job in January, not in September. So at the end of February, I'm like, I looked at my finances and I thought, well, maybe I could make this happen. And I knew I couldn't make it happen with a house and an RV. So I decided to sell the house. It was a big house and I was all alone in it. And it just held a lot of stuff. It was where I put my stuff that I bought with the money I spent for my job. So, you know, now I have to really think about and be very mindful about what I bring into my house. And I still take a lot out because it's just, you only have so much. I'm going to say 200, and I think that's generous, 200 square feet. So
wow,
I think that's generous.
And just for everyone watching, because I knew what an RV was because obviously I've been watching you on Instagram, but I didn't know what it stood for, so I had to go and Google it, and it means recreational vehicle. We'd call it a camper van in the UK,
or a caravan.
Or a caravan. Yeah.
A caravan, same thing. Yes. So something that this one is it's a little bit bigger than a van. Excuse me. It has so I have a bathroom with a shower and a sink and an oven and a cooktop and a queen size bed and everything you need.
All mod cons, because I was going to say to you, I'm so excited when I go on your Instagram, and there's something about your lifestyle that appeals to me. But my conflict is that I don't do or any kind of not in a hotel I'm just all about the home comforts. And I'm thinking, I'm really drawn to what you've done. There's just something really brave about what you've done, to just say to your job and go, no more. And then just sell your house. And it's amazing. Crazy.
You know, it's amazing how many people like me are out here. I didn't know. You know, the RV community is an amazing community. And there are many of us who are doing this full time and traveling the country. A lot of people with littles, like tiny little children, and they're homeschooling.
Wow.
Thousands. I was shocked as to the breadth of this community and how nice they are and how supportive they are. It's a little bit different than corporate world. And it's just, you know, I'm not the only one doing this. So you tend to run into people in different campgrounds over and over and over again. So you never know when you're going to run into a friend or make a new friend but yes, I have all my clothes, all my food. If I stay in someone's driveway, I'm the best house guest because I don't need towels. I don't need sheets. I don't need anything. And I don't have to worry if it's cold out or not because I have summer and winter clothes with me. And, you know, it's a very nice, I have everything with me. It's all, my stuff is in a tiny little area and everything I need is right here.
It's amazing. Do you think COVID has kind of like triggered off, because I would call it living off grid, that's what I would call it.
Yes.
Which appeals to me because you're not tuned tricks, as it were. You know, you're living a very free life. Do you think that COVID might have, or do you think there's always been lots of people that have been living the RV life maybe?
I think they've grown. I know some people who've been doing this before COVID, but I think that after COVID, but I mean, it all kind of goes together. The economy, I think it's difficult for people to own homes. They're very expensive right now.
Yes.
Yes. And I think people are just kind of, they don't like what the schools are teaching or how they're teaching it. Because I think 33% or so, I'm not sure, but of people who are doing, excuse me, the same kind of living I'm doing right now are under 40. You know, where it used to be more retired people. And now it's like, so you have your under 40s with your families, you have your kind of in the middles like me who are still working or trying to work, and then you have your retired people. So it's a mix of people. As far as off-grid to me means I don't have electricity, I don't have water.
Okay.
I have full hookups every night that I want them. So I just don't pay for it. So I joined.
No.
It's an RV membership where I can stay in certain campgrounds. So there's like 200 campgrounds I can stay in around the country. I did a buy-in, and then I have a small monthly fee. But I don't pay for electric. I don't pay for water. I don't pay for garbage. I just have to pay my small monthly fee. If I stayed in the system all year round, it would come out to about $3.50 a night. So you can't live any places for $3.50.
No, but when you think about your old life and how it was, do you miss it at all? Like, were you sad to sell your house? Because like, it is the end of an era when you make a decision like that, isn't it?
It is, but I've recreated myself a couple times in this life, and
Good for you.
I don't look back. I mean, I have friends. In fact, I have friends coming in this weekend from my old life. They're coming camping up where I am, and we'll be together for the weekend. I don't miss my house. I don't miss that lifestyle. But I've been stationary in Orlando for the past 5 or 6 months. And really, it is like living in a home because I have the grocery stores I'm used to. I have, community. I have friends. It's better than my old lifestyle. The neighbors talk to each other and they're nice to each other. You don't see that so much anymore. And here, there's always someone around to talk to. You go for a walk in the park. My daughters will come visit me. Everybody waves. Everybody says hi. And she had to get used to it. It's kind of unusual. So if I walk the dogs in the morning, I usually have to allow, especially in the winter when everyone's here, an extra half hour because you're going to stop and talk to somebody. So it's just a nice community.
That's lovely. So do you feel like you found your people then?
I do. For now, and I don't know what, my problem is to not look forward to my next phase. Because I don't want to worry about my next phase. I want to enjoy the phase I'm in right now. So I'm really working on that because I'm a planner as well, but I don't know where I'm going to be when I'm 80 years old, but right now I figured I tried it for a year. I said, you have to do this for a year, and you really need a year to experience some of the things and to make this space work for you. But I'm going to stick with it until I tour the entire US, which is at least 5 years. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
And can you share, if you're able to share this, can you share with people like what because obviously fear is going to come when you do anything new. The mind monkeys start going, what about this and what about that?
Yeah.
Can you share any fears that you might have had before you took the plunge?
Oh my goodness, I had so many fears. For one, I had a budget in my mind about what I thought this life would cost, but you don't know until you're in it. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos when I started, and a lot of them have very expensive repairs that I think repairs are not, they can be, but I stuck within my budget last year. I think this year, because of the way I'm traveling, I will probably out of my budget a little bit, but that was the fear of traveling alone and being stuck somewhere where I didn't know anybody and needed to get something fixed. And I guess those were my biggest fears. Last year, part of it was loneliness because I didn't know anybody. I didn't understand the system. And now that I am trying to grow my own business and I'm blogging, I always have something to do. I can always, write for my website or something. So this year will be a little less like that. So, but it was fearful. I mean, I've never done this before.
No.
And it's a little unusual. And most people were very supportive, but then I had someone had wanted to know if I was ever going to move into a house with a second bathroom again. And I'm like, I don't need 2 bathrooms. It's just me. So my dad was very concerned. And we have to connect with each other every morning and every evening just to say we're okay. But I live in a gated community. You can't get in here without a passcode and a wave to the person at the front gate. So I chose options that were maybe a little bit more expensive, but very, very safe as I can be, as safe as anybody else can be, you know. Yeah, and safety is part of it right now. And with everything going on in the world, safety is a big part of it.
Absolutely. The world's a bit crazy at the moment, isn't it? It really is. So you had all these fears, but I'm actually thinking, because I always felt like this just to tell you that Nancy and I met we were in a sort of Pinterest marketing group. That's how we met, didn't we?
Yes,
online.
We met in school.
Yeah. And I don't know how long ago that was now. It was quite a while ago, wasn't it?
It was probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. And but
I both still use it.
Yeah, we do.
We both still use it.
Yeah, we'll talk about your blog and stuff in a minute. But I want to go back to the whole fear and courage thing, because I always felt that your energy was quite courageous and quite bold. But maybe that's because you're in sales and, like, you know, I don't know. What do you consider yourself to be quite a brave person?
No. I don't. I think because I travel solo and I've had to make decisions on my own for so long that, you know, I can't rely on anybody else to make those decisions for me. So I make the best decision possible for myself. And I've always tried to look at life. I don't want to regret not doing something. So there's very little, if anything, that I look back and say, oh, I wish I'd done that. Because there's so many people who look back and you realize that life has just passed you by and now it's too late to do. I feel like I almost feel, and I'm not that old, but but I almost feel like I'm at the tail end of starting this life, because traveling and hiking, there were times last year that I'm like, especially in the beginning before I built up my stamina and my strength a little bit, because when you're sitting in an office all day, it's a lot different than being out and pretty much exercising all day long. So I feel like I could do more now than I could do then, but there were times that I'm like, I don't think I would want to do this when I was 65, climbing mountains and things like that. So I'm glad I did this now when I'm doing it and I'm still healthy and can do it. But as far as brave, I might be a little crazy.
All the best people are. All the best people are.
I've always been a little bit of a risk taker, and I'm realizing I probably have taken more risks than I give myself credit for my whole life.
What star sign are you, Nancy?
I'm a Leo.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Bold.
Yeah.
Bold. But you're brave. You're the lion. That's who you are.
I'm the lion.
I didn't know you were a Leo, but I got a real sense of that about you just from us talking online. And I was really drawn to your energy. And when you started, because you went away for a little while, didn't you? I suppose while all that was going on and you were leaving your job and closing your business down and selling your house. And then you came back online. COVID. Yeah, then you came. We did speak a little bit during COVID. And then I think I saw you put up a video of you in Orlando and I'm nuts for Disney. And I think I might have commented on that. And then we kind of reconnected again, didn't we?
I am in this location, I have to move every 2 or 3 weeks with the program. So, and I've really been staying in a half-hour radius from the different locations. There's 5 or 6 locations here I can stay in. Okay. And so I'm 30 minutes from Disney with traffic.
Oh my God, I hear every night.
I hear the Disney fireworks every night. It's so cool. Yeah.
The electrical light parade when I was a kid. We went 3 times. We did Disneyland and Disney World. And I used to say to my mum, I want to be a Disney dancer. Like, I want to get on that float and like dance.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad I am. So I was talking about Disney and saying as a kid, I always wanted to dance down Main Street for the electrical light parade because I was mad for that. I loved it.
They don't have that anymore. Disney has changed so much over the years.
No.
Yes. But the way that the management has been working again has been they've been much nicer to Floridians because I'm a Florida resident, and yes, that's the only way I can afford to go. So I can go on weekdays. and I have blockout periods, but I really haven't run into that yet. And I would love to go every day or every night. In the beginning I did, but it was cooler. It is so hot here right now that I don't want to barely leave the house other than to go to the pool because it's hot. It's been in the 90s. In fact, I leave in 2 weeks for cooler temperatures, hopefully, because this is I stayed here because I was babysitting for my new granddaughter.
Oh, and, lovely.
Yeah, that was an extra added benefit. My daughter let me know about 2 weeks before I left that she was pregnant and due in December.
Oh.
And so I've been able to stay 20 minutes from her house, right now about 30 minutes away. So I babysat for my granddaughter, and she just started daycare. So now I'm free to travel again. I've been released from my duties. But it's just been so hot in Disney right now. Last year I swore I would never be in Florida in May, and here I am.
But it's worth it to see your granddaughter. That's
oh my
special,
gosh.
Isn't it?
It was such a special time, and to spend time with my daughter. I mean, she went to college, she moved out, and I see her. I would see her like once a month. I'd go to her house for a weekend, or she'd visit me. But to see her every day for months on end, and then to get to spend all that time with my granddaughter has just been, it's not going to happen again unless she has another baby. But it's been such a blessing to be able to do that. And you talked about phases of our life. That was just the blip. But I am so grateful that I was able to do that, and to help her, but also just to spend that time with her was so, so special. And I have another daughter who also lives in Orlando.
Okay.
So I see her, not as much. She's working. She's trying to, I don't know where she gets this from, but she's trying to start her own business. And she's doing a good job.
I wonder.
My little entrepreneur. And but it's so fun to watch them turn into their own beautiful young women.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
So with this blog that you started up attached to Daisy is your RV. She's called Daisy, isn't she?
She's a 2005 Lazy Days Class C RV. So she's used, and I found her on YouTube, and
amazing.
When I found her, she was for sale, but she had a sale pending. But I emailed the gentleman anyway, and I said, if something falls through, let me know. Because I had a checklist that I'd made up of everything I wanted in an RV, and I made it up. I think it was December 1st in 2023. I found her December 4th, 2023. And I owned her. She checked all the boxes and then some things I didn't even know I needed.
Brilliant.
So it was funny the way I made that list and just put it out there. And I do that a lot. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I make lists of things I want to have happen during the year. And if you look at it at the end of the year and you realize how much has happened really with no effort on your part, it's fat. I don't understand how. I mean, I do understand how it works, but it's just mind blows every year it does. So then I owned her, and I had no intention of going full time. And I bought her. No. And so here I am.
Oh,
in my little teeny tiny home.
Oh, I love it. And so you write blog posts. So you setting up a business to encourage other women to adopt this same free living lifestyle, or just to share your adventures?
Well, a little bit of both. I think that there's a lot of women and maybe just solo travelers in general who are afraid to travel solo, or don't want to travel solo, and because they don't know. I like my alone time. I think I crave my alone time. I've always traveled solo because sometimes I didn't have anyone to travel with, and I didn't want to not do something because I didn't want to let that hold me back.
No. Would you consider yourself to be a highly sensitive person or an empath? Or is that just an introverted thing?
I'm not an introvert. I thought I was when I worked for my company, because I would go home and didn't want to talk to anybody. But I'm in sales, so I talk to people all day. I crave people. I crave the interaction with my daughter calls me an ambivert. I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yes.
So,
ambivert, yes.
So I crave people, but I about 4 hours, I think, is my limit. And after about 4 hours, I need to go and just regroup. And I am an empath. And I think I've always been an empath. I didn't necessarily recognize it, but I know people who are much more highly sensitive and way off. I mean, I don't even feel like I belong in that spectrum because they're just so intuitive. And a lot of it is like following your intuition. But I do need that time alone to energize myself when I'm with people because I am an empath. It drains my energy.
Yeah.
And I refill when I'm alone again or going to Disney. Like bright lights energize me. They always have. I grew up in New Jersey at the Jersey Shore, and I just suck up that energy and sun. I just suck that up.
Yeah.
And then I reset overnight and I go and do it again. But if I don't have that time, I can feel my energy draining. I went out to dinner with some friends last night, and it ended up being a little over 4 hours. And on that 4 hour mark, I could just feel myself becoming quieter and quieter and listening more, which is good. But I just was losing my steam.
So when you think about connecting to your intuition, because this is something I'm really trying to hone into, like it's our feminine energy, isn't it? Our intuition. And how does that come to you? Because for me, like it comes in, sometimes it's a gut feeling, like it's a strong knowing, and I've got no evidence to prove it, but I just feel compelled to do it. Yes. Sometimes I get a little voice in my head, not of the schizophrenic variety.
I know, I get the same voice. So yes, I get it.
Or sometimes I feel like I overhear a conversation with someone, or 3 people will tell me to read the same book in a week, or I hear lyrics to a song that I've listened to a million times, but I've never heard the lyrics in that way before, and I'm like, does your intuition speak to you like that?
It's exactly like that. And I've learned if I hear that voice, I listen. I listen. Trust it, I listen the first time, not because I used to wait. And, and I would listen, and then the voice would get louder and louder and louder. And finally, okay, you win. You just win. And I still get that. And I've learned, like, I hear that voice and immediately, if it tells me to do something, I don't fight it anymore because it's not worth fighting, and it's always right. I don't know, I'm also I wouldn't call myself religious, but I have a strong faith. So I think it's learning to listen to how do I say that? So I believe it's a God thing, and I've had some strange experiences. I had a near-death experience too, and I think I did, and that changed me a lot, to not be afraid of death. And although the farther away I get from that experience, I wouldn't say I'm afraid of death, but I don't want to die yet. Not that I wanted to die then either, but, it was the near-death experience was just, if I died, it'd have been okay at that point, because you have that experience. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that experience too, because in my head, in my logical head, it didn't make sense. No. So I didn't really tell anybody about it. And then the farther away I got from it, I kind of came to terms with it. I was able to talk about it. But it's part of that intuition and I think that's why I can talk to people in low doses, because I do pick up on their energies. And even if they're not saying what's coming across, I can pick up on stuff, and you tend to take it and internalize it, and it's draining.
Absolutely, it is. And so going back to I don't know if you want to talk about it, but look, I've read lots of books of people that have had near-death experiences, and they've said, look, they go towards the light, or they come out of their own bodies and see themselves. Or are you able to share what that was like?
I can. You didn't think you were getting this part, did you?
I didn't, but that's probably why I was supposed to talk to you, because I'm like, I just feel very drawn to your energy, Nancy.
I've always loved you. So I was going through a divorce, and I had asthma diagnosis, everything but asthma, but it was actually stress-related asthma, and the stress was incredible. And I ended up going into the hospital with asthma, and I coded, which I thought I coded, but I hadn't confirmed I coded. It probably took me 2 years to like share this story with a friend who was actually there and went through it with me. And I said, I think I coded. And she's like, oh yeah, you definitely coded. So it was just, I'm a very practical person. The older I get, the more I open myself up to things. I think that's part of being an empath and understanding. I think a lot of people are empaths and they don't open up to it. And you have to allow, and you have to be. So I was in the hospital. I was intubated. This is long before COVID, but I was intubated, ripping the intubations out. They had tied me down, I guess. And at one point, it was like a whirling, like almost like a whirlpool. If you were drowning in a whirlpool, and I kind of fought it and didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is that? What is that? And after the third time it happened, excuse me, I thought to myself, this must be what dying is like. And I could hear the voices in the room saying, we're losing her, we're losing her. And I'm like, you are not losing me. I'm right here. Pay attention to me, you know?
Oh,
and then I saw myself, I could see myself up here. I saw myself looking down on the doctors, and I was very, very frustrated with them because they were not paying attention to me. And then the next thing I knew, I wasn't there anymore. I was in this cone of light, I guess is the best way to put it. But it was just this, the light was the warmth, and it was love. It was pure love. And it was an amazing feeling, and I was happy there. And I heard a voice, and the voice said to me, do you know where you are? And I said, I think so. And he said, do you want to stay? And I'm like, well, yes, I'd love to stay. And he said, well, what about your daughters? And I'm like, oh,
I've got a lump in my throat when you say that.
That would be very difficult, I guess. And I said, I guess I should go back. And he said, well, now you know your purpose. And it was like someone took me, I'm sorry, my dog is biting my hand, sorry. It was like someone took me in a fireball. This is Willie.
Hi, Willie, right? Nice to meet you. You're very friendly, aren't you?
He's very friendly. And someone took me in a fireball and just threw me back into my body. And I was in ICU, I was intubated, and I woke up, and I had a friend who actually was sleeping on the floor. And I saw her on the floor, and I said, okay. And I went to sleep. And the next morning when the nurse came in, said I was awake. I surprised everybody I was awake. And I don't think they thought I was going to wake up. They called my sisters in New Jersey and told them, they didn't think I was going to make it. And she said, what can I get for you? And I said, I'm starving. So they moved me out of ICU very quickly. And I think I was home within a day, which was no one could really explain that. So, and now I don't have asthma anymore. So I would go to my pulmonologist, and I was getting better and better and better and better. And it was the stress. The stress was killing me. And I really take so much time right now to have a very stress-free life.
Yes, absolutely.
So even though I sometimes have fear, and I sometimes am stressed out by what I'm doing, like going over a bridge in an RV or something like that. But
you're human.
I don't like bridges. But I've really tried to remove as much stress from my life as possible, and I don't have asthma anymore.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I looked into asthma because do you know Louise Hay, the lady that used to diagnose like what was it in the body was like emotional pain. And I looked into asthma because I had it as a kid, and then as I got older, I never had it again. And it's smothering. It's feeling smothered because if you think about it, you can't breathe, can you? So I'm just I'm wondering, like you say, you were going through a divorce. Well, you're about to be free from that, though, weren't you? You know that relationship. You know, you were coming away from it.
Yeah, but the stress of what happened during the divorce was really
horrible.
You know, and then it was. Let's just say I raised my kids on my own for about 10 years after that. He was not really part of their lives because he was not able to be. So it was very, very challenging. And, you know, and it was weird because it allowed me as a single parent trying to make money to raise children to see, I had an insight into what a man must feel like when he is raising a family with children and a wife who are not working, and it's all on him. And that's just an incredible stress. So I got an insight into that a little bit. And that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so I think after that experience, I hear, oh, I'm losing my earpiece. Hold on. I hear, Willie, you got to stop this. Get down. He's all over me. So did that go back in? Okay. So I just have learned to listen to those voices, because during my divorce, I've had so many little, you need to do this and you need to do it right now. And like, well, that's silly. What is this voice? And then I hear it again, and then within 5 minutes, something would happen, and I'd understand why I was told that. It was like very serious things that if I had not done them, it would have been very terrible to not do them. So, and now it happens too. It happened just the other day or the other week with something with my daughter. So I did something for my daughter, and I said, I'm not doing this because I feel I should be doing it. I was told I have to do it. So they probably think I'm a little crazy too. And I said, so this is not, I'm not doing this because I love you, even though I love you. I'm doing this because I was told to do it. So I've learned to listen, and it keeps me safe. It keeps me in good places. It keeps other people, hopefully I'm a blessing to other people sometimes because of it. So
you can absolutely trust yourself. So do you think that connection with that voice became stronger after the near-death experience, or has it always been there? Oh, right. Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always been there, but I ignored it or didn't recognize it or didn't pay attention to it and didn't care. And now I'm just like, I don't even try and fight it. One time, and I'm like, all right, and no matter what I'm doing, whether it's pull over and do this now, I just do it. It's just easier to do it than to try and fight it, because eventually I'm going to have to do it anyway. So just do it now and get it done with. Well, I don't understand why. Some of it still doesn't make sense why I've been told to do certain things, but I'm sure there's a reason, and I'm sure that it was for my benefit or someone else's benefit. So.
Yeah, you're just trusting in that guidance, and that is what I'm going to take away from our call today, because I have always trusted that voice, and then recently it's been telling me to do some things which make no sense, and I know the rules. The rules are just do the thing anyway. And then my ego comes in, because it thinks that it feels unsafe, and it's trying to control the situation. And I'm saying to my ego, get out, let me just do the thing. And the worst thing I think you can do is, when you're listening to that voice, is if you've got to make a decision about something, is don't share it with other people until you've gotten really clear on it yourself, because then that's even more confusing, because people start to project their fear and their stuff onto you, and you've got to be really clear that that's right for you, haven't you?
I don't even try to explain. I don't know. I know a couple of empaths that there's certain people in my life I know I can talk to, and that they get me and that they understand me. There's other people that if I even try, like once in a while I'll dip my toe in and test the waters with someone to see where they are, and I quickly retreat back because they just don't get it. So why I don't try and explain it to people who don't get it either. It's not worth it. But and I don't want to push it on someone else. But the people who get it, it's so cool to have conversations like you. It's so cool to have conversations with people like you, because you really understand it and you don't think I'm totally nuts. So it's nice.
But that's making me think maybe that's why you enjoyed reading my book, because there's so much of that stuff in that story, and not everyone who reads it will see it. But if you're in that space, then you will know, like what the story is trying to tell you.
Your story is amazing, and I definitely connected with your story from page 1. But I think I told you this before. I had to put the story down after a couple of chapters, because it resonated with me too much. It opened a window in my heart that I probably had not looked at or thought about or touched since I was a kid. And I'm like, wow, I brought back memories that I probably had suppressed for years. And I think that you reading your book had also opened me up to who I am and like as an empath. And so thank you. But then I did go back to the book, and and I think that if you're not resonating with it, it's still a great book to read just because it's an amazing story. But if you get the underlying things to it, and I have given the book to a couple of people who put it down and couldn't pick it back up again.
Yeah, right.
Because they didn't want to connect with that part of themselves.
No.
Which is sad, because you'd connect with it and then move on, and it just makes you who you are. I confront things head on. I don't, I'm not a fluffy person, so I don't sugarcoat things. I try and be fluffy, I really do, but I don't sugarcoat things. I say things the way I see them, whether you like it or not. And if you don't connect with me, then that's okay. Yeah. You know, that's okay. And I don't open up to everybody, especially like I'm opening up to you today. This is a conversation I don't have with many people.
Well,
so probably
privileged
5 or 10 people in my whole life I've had this conversation with.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us while you're on your travels. And maybe we can chat again another time and see how you're getting on if you'd like to.
Yes, I would love that. I'm headed to Minnesota. I've never been to Minnesota. Minnesota's far away. It's like I'm in Florida, so it's like up near Canada.
Okay.
And I'm taking a backwards way to visit some people along the way, and then the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So, yes, it's kind of it's kind of another trial trip, because last year where I went, I knew people along the way. So from Florida to Maine, I had friends, and if I got stuck, I felt someone could come help me. Here, I'm kind of on my own, and there's places I'm going to be without internet connection, which I could not have done last year. I would have gone crazy. And I've learned it's okay to disconnect for a while. Yes. So I will be disconnected at some point, I'm sure.
No, but that's
yes,
good.
I will be writing. I'll be on Instagram. In fact, everybody who's on my email list, I basically have said, I may not write a blog right now. I mean, I'll catch up on everything. But if you really want to follow me, you need to go to Instagram or Facebook, preferably Instagram, because otherwise I don't know. I mean, I've been told I'm going to have to go to the post office to have internet connection in certain places. And
so how can people find you on Instagram? What's your handle?
At Making My Own Lane.
Go and follow Nancy, because your adventures will inspire you. They're just amazing.
I hope so. And I have more. I mean, the adventures have been kind of quiet because I've been kind of stationary, but I have some amazing things planned. I'm so excited about my trip and things I'm doing. And again, stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit to do some of them. I'm so excited about a lot of the things I'm doing this year. So that'll be fun.
That's another chapter of your brave Leo self.
Well, I don't want to look back in 20 years and say, oh, I wish I had done that. And why didn't I do that?
No regrets.
And some of my biggest fans right now are my friends' parents who are older and are not able to do this anymore. And my friend told me the other day that her father had said, I'm so proud of Nancy. She's doing this and that. And I'm like, because I saw her father about a year ago and I did not get that impression from him. He was more like, what are you doing? And I'm like, your father said that? And I've known her since I was 12. And she said, my father thinks you're wonderful. And I'm like, I did not get that impression last year. So, but I think that I don't want to be, 80 or 90 years old and say I should have done that. And why didn't I do that?
No.
So,
I'm hearing that is your motto for life. Like, no regrets, follow your inner voice, unplug when you need to. I love, very good, very, very good wise words.
You summed that up nicely. I don't think I've ever summed that up before. So thank you. But, it's just a way of life. And being a solo traveler, I think I can do that because I don't have to worry about someone else, about what they want to do, about entertaining them, about making sure that they feel comfortable. It's kind of, and I've had to do that my whole life, even with kids too. You know, they always came first. So, and they'll always still be first in my life, but to put me first for a little while is kind of, it's a different phase. Yeah. It's a different phase.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I took away from our call was just tell it like it is, because I like to tell it like it is, and not everyone can hear that.
Yes, you do. You do.
I think it's important. Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. I'm gonna
You're
say
welcome.
goodbye to you, and I'm gonna press stop on the video, but I'm still gonna talk to you afterwards. All right?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It was good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.